Aloha everyone. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day. I am in Phoenix, Arizona, and we're running our master practitioner training here. We've got about 100 people that are here having an absolutely incredible time. It's our lunch break right now. There's the team over there and the assistants and Christina taking pictures of me while I'm doing this. So, just having a great time here in Phoenix. It's a lot cooler in the fall in comparison to the summer when you can actually boil an egg on the sidewalk. It's pretty incredible. The weather here has been amazing and the people amazing as well. Getting such incredible results. Aloha, Sandy. So good to see you. And, I want to continue talking about what I began last week. And this is a concept actually that I'm going to be going over with the master practitioners as soon as they come back from the lunch break. And it has to do with how we perceive things, how we perceive our reality. Now, I said to you all last week that I was going to be doing a three-parter, and that the first part was last week, this is the second, and now next week we're going to be jumping into the third part. And, well, I have to say, please forgive me, practicing my forgiveness technique. I had forgotten that Phoenix doesn't do daylight savings, which means that next week it's 1:30 Pacific still, 1 o'clock Pacific, like it is right now, but here in Phoenix it's going to be 2, and I'm going to be on that stage right there teaching. So Deanne is going to jump in next week. Aloha, Steve. Hope everything's good in Boston over there. So glad that you're on this. Yeah, so Deanne is going to be jumping on next week, doing a fill-in, and I will do the third part the week after. So I'll definitely make sure that I get to the third part the week after. And here's the deal. I want to kind of loop back to what I had talked about last week, and that is perception is interpretation. Super easy concept, really simple, and that is that the world that you see outside of you, the world that you see outside is being filtered through all of these things that you have going on at the unconscious level. If you're angry, you filter the world through the anger. If you're big picture, you filter the world through big picture. Well, if you want to go back and watch that video again, totally cool, because I want to build on it now. So once you understand that you're interpreting everything, you also begin to realize that you're projecting. So my third book that I wrote on integrating the shadow really cited a lot of the work by a guy named Carl Jung. And Carl Jung, an early psychologist, what he really began to focus in on is archetypes, the idea of the shadow. Also, though, the idea that we are projecting out around us the things that we have going on inside, that we're actually not necessarily interpreting everything around. What we're actually doing is we are projecting. Well, at the time, people were like, well, how does that make sense? It doesn't really, add up. How can what I have inside, I'm actually putting outside? I believe that this reality outside is real. And the thing is, it's not. It is and it isn't. We're going to talk about the reality aspect in the third part of this in 2 weeks. Perception projection, when I was growing up in this industry, we talked about it from the standpoint of what you have going on inside, you're projecting it out onto the world around you. Dr. Bruce Lipton, the author of Biology of Belief, says a function of the unconscious mind is to make your reality reflect your beliefs, not the other way around. That your reality is created through your beliefs, the beliefs that you have inside of you. Well, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Rohn that said that the 5 people, you all heard this, right? You can do a thumbs or a heart for this one. The 5 people that you hang out with begin to influence your values and your beliefs, right? You take on their personality traits. I shared that with my daughter, and she was in middle school, and she said, Daddy, I am in trouble. I said, girl, why are you in trouble? She said, because the teacher makes me sit next to boys. And she said, Daddy, boys in middle school are not bright. And I said, yeah, Pumpkin, I kind of gave you a heads up about that a while back. She shared with me how on some lunch breaks they get a cup and they pour every liquid they can find into it and see who can drink it without throwing up. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. And we both laughed, and I said, Skylar, it's not who you sit next to in class. That's not up to you. That is not up to you. The teacher's putting you there. I'm talking about on recess. I'm talking about during your lunch break. The lunch break is where you have to be careful. Yeah, Vicki, that's funny. I said to her, you're forced in a classroom setting to be sitting next to someone. During the lunch break, when you let your guard down, that's when you're giving your unconscious mind permission. This person is going to influence me. Fast forward, we have research now. If you take a petri dish and you take heart cells out of 5 people and put the cell in a petri dish, the cell continues to beat at the rate of the donor, the resting heart rate of the donor. Then something weird begins to happen. All of the heart cells begin to synchronize, and they synchronize to one beat. Now, at first, scientists thought it might be an average or, like some sort of mathematical. No, they all synchronize to the strongest heart cell. And the only way that they can explain the strongest heart cell is the energy field and how congruent the donor was. See, if the donor was congruent and that energy field was the strongest, the other heart cells pick up on it and synchronize with it. That's perception is projection. What you believe to be true, you will actually project that out onto people all around you. You will influence people around you because of your beliefs. The higher up you have from an authority perspective, as a father to a young child, a teacher to a group of people that are learning, someone who is a team leader, a thought leader, the more influence you have, the more you have to realize that what you have going on inside, you're projecting out onto the people around you, positive and negative, good and bad. See, if you really, really believe something, that someone can be incredible and totally empowered, you actually help them to become even more empowered. By believing in someone, then you actually open up the space for them to be able to achieve that. So I want you to think about this over the next couple of weeks, because Deanna is going to be with you next week. So let's bring the two concepts together. Number one, you have perception is interpretation. You got to start there. How are you interpreting things? If you're interpreting things in a negative way, we can't even talk about how you're projecting. And then concept number two is projections. That the people around you that look up to you, that you influence them, realize that you project onto them, and that what you believe inside, they will begin to pick up. So be very clear on being in a positive space, totally empowered to be able to hold space for others. All right. Hope you all have a great couple of weeks. Deanna, again, she's going to be with you next week because I'm going to be right up here on this stage teaching. And the week after that, we'll finish the 3 parts with reality, bringing it all together and having an incredible experience with that. Okay? Aloha, ohiho. Classes was, one last thing. We have 3 more practitioner trainings this year. There's one, we got a lot of questions from the office about our virtual. We are running a virtual prac. We are running a virtual prac on December 8th through the 11th. 8th through the 11th, we're doing a virtual prac. So if you can't make it to one of our live events, make sure that you check that out. Go to nlp.com for any details that you need on that. All right? Aloha, ahuiho. See you in a couple weeks.